welcome to Hickory Street Podcast. The country's opening back up, so it's sort of safe to do this again, for now, at least. We are here with Ramiro and Jordan Bishop, so thanks guys for doing this. This is cool.
You're Ramiro and Jordan Bishop, the couple.
So, how has quarantine been for you? Ramiro, I know you're doing the online
the
open mic. How's that been going? How have you been scheduling and?
Well, Jordan and I co-host on Thursday nights on Instagram at Orange Sloth Booking at 8 p.m. It's a live stream open mic. I think we've done it 4 weeks now, something like that.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we hit people up, they hit us up, and you just get a 15-minute slot like any other open mic. I really miss doing that, and I wanted to have some way to do it again. And as terrible as the audio is, it's definitely the highlight of my week.
Yeah, well, cell phone quality only goes so far,
Oh yeah,
but I'm glad that you're doing it, and I'm glad that somebody's doing something.
Yeah.
I mean, it must take a lot of energy to schedule all of that and try to make it diverse each time. Try to get new people on. And all that.
I think that's one of the challenges, but I mean, it's super fun. I shoot for feeling like it's kind of classic, but at the same time, I have a lot of friends like in Dallas, like my friend River Jude. I've heard him play it several times, and I'm like, dude, I want to hear this guy play. I run this thing, so I just hit him up, and he's like, oh yeah, for sure. And so I try to have friends and people I've never met, and really just try to keep it like an open mic. Like you go every week, and you're like, well, I don't really know what to expect, but until we post the flyer for the lineup.
Yeah.
I think that's another fun thing, like making it sort of feel like a show, but
Promotional aspects of it.
yeah.
Well, you were really good at the transitions the other day whenever I was hanging out with you guys, at getting the next person on and everything. So that's cool. How did you guys actually meet? I've been wondering about that because I know you guys are pretty close friends. Every time I see you out in public, you're together.
Yeah.
We actually met at James Dolly's open mic when he hosted it at Denton County Brewing Company.
Oh, okay.
About a year and a half ago.
I'd say 2 years ago at this point.
Yeah, almost 2 years ago. And that was around whenever I was first getting started playing, performing. And it was the day after I met Dolly. And then Ramiro came in, and I think that was your first time playing at that one too.
Yeah, it was.
And I think you asked me for a cigarette or something. Mm-hmm. And then I was smoking Marlboro Blacks.
That's how
and you're
cool.
like, dude, these are my second favorite cigarette. It's they're my second favorite cigarette too.
Yeah.
Oh, those things are nasty. I used to smoke those back whenever I smoked. I went to my first year at college. I was hanging out with a group of friends, and that's what they smoked because they were what at the gas station we used to go to. They were $4 or $5 a pack.
They used to be the cheap cigarette, the cheap Marlboro you could buy. Now they're up to $7, like everything else. But
damn, yeah, they were the cheap ones, and then what was the other ones? All I know is they have the weird Nike swish on them. Newports, yeah, Newports. We used to smoke Newports.
Well, dude, I'll tell you,
those are rough.
it was my last semester in college. Maybe it just was my last year. I don't remember. I was so poor. I would go in between the couch cushions and look underneath the table and the oven too, underneath the oven, just to get coins. And it was $4.32 for a pack of cigarettes. The brand was this.
Oh God.
And Jordan made this hilarious joke. He's like, they just misspelled shit. Sorry, man.
were
It's
awful.
it was so bad, but they were so cheap. And
We'd still go through 2 packs of those a night.
yeah.
Jeez, in a night.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Jordan
man.
and I would just sit outside of a bar and just chain smoke and, I mean, just
Just-
completely just shoot the shit about nothing.
Get pretty trashed, and that was the end of the night.
Yeah.
So, I just kind of put the math together then. You guys basically met around the same time that Dolly started doing open mics then. Because I think the last time I talked to him, he said that he was doing open mics with Matt Grigsby for a while. And then he started doing it on his own about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I
So it
remember.
must have been-
I remember hearing about his open mic. I can't remember how I did, but I knew that it wasn't like a super long thing by the time I started. I think there was only like maybe 4 or 5 before I
Yeah,
started.
something like that.
That's
I
cool.
really have no remembrance of that.
Yeah.
That was a cool spot, dude. I
It
kinda
really
miss it.
was. I really enjoyed going there. Even if I wasn't playing, I like to go there.
What was it called?
Denton County Brewing Company.
Oh,
BCBC,
okay.
Yeah, over
Yeah,
by,
they still,
Bearded Monk.
they're still around.
Yeah, and it was really cool because if you want a good beer, they have nothing but good beer there, and then right across the street is the Bearded Monk. So it's like, well,
And they
And
had
then
that
the
community.
yeah, the
Lot.
community, that community lot. Gosh, it's so good. But and the Ambrose Taco Shop, is that what it's called? Right next door.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's like tacos, beer, and music. I'm like, dude, I'm from San Antonio. What else could I ask for? You know?
Yeah, there's nothing like 2 a.m. tacos. Drunk. You know what I mean?
It is the best.
They don't even have to be good.
Nah.
Because they're always gonna be good, even if
Yeah.
they're not good.
It seems like you can't mess up street tacos. Like you
No,
just
You really
can't.
can't.
There's no.
I feel like if you tried too hard, that's how you could mess them up.
Yeah.
But if you just didn't try at all,
Like-
it's just such an organic thing.
If you're trying to mess them up, then yeah, you can do it. But there's like 3 ingredients.
If you're trying to Gordon Ramsay it, you'll
Yeah.
screw it up. Because this is the fancy
Yeah.
taco. Like, nah.
keep the taco simple.
Yes. Core
Don't-
issue.
Don't change. Don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone what the meat really is.
That's rule number
That's
one.
the key.
Oh man, my because you're talking about how you were from San Antonio. I got a lot of family down there, and my uncle, whenever I was younger, like a couple of years before he passed away, he took me to the Alamo Dome to see the Cowboys do their training camp, because he was actually he was he actually worked for a radio station. And so he would go, like, he got a press pass and would get in and, like, do a quick little report for the radio show on the
nice.
Cowboys during their, like, spring training. And he let me go with him one time, and in the morning before we went, or it might have been, like, after we were leaving, we went to lunch or something, and he took me to this, like, really just a hole-in-the-wall street taco place in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And I had never had barbacoa before, so it was the first time I had barbacoa.
Barbacoa and
And he-
Big Red, dude.
Yeah, and he did it up right. So like he put the salt on it and with guac and like
I'm like salivating.
yeah, and it was probably the best taco I think I've ever had in my life. Like I will always remember that taco.
Dude, I really wish I could be like, oh, maybe it was this place. No, but like, if we're talking about hole-in-the-wall taco places in San Antonio, I mean, it's probably like 50,000.
Yeah, and I imagine that they're somewhat cyclical, like they're in and out,
Yeah.
you know, pretty quickly. But that's one reason why I will probably never move out of Texas.
Yeah.
Too many awesome taco places. Go anywhere else in the U.S. and it's just not as good, except for maybe California, maybe like Southern California. There's
Yeah,
some.
but they ruin everything.
Yeah, that's true.
They just butcher everything.
Everything.
They
Everything.
corporatize everythting
Yeah.
so they can make a profit.
Like, not everything needs avocado on it. Stop.
Quarter century.
Like, oh yeah, you want some really expensive coffee? Let me give you a slice of avocado for $7 with it. No.
Not even avocado toast, just an avocado. Or the
Dipped
core of an
in the
avocado.
coffee.
Avocado steakhouse.
Yeah.
No, one thing I do want to try in California, it's a Mexican joint called Sombreros, and Blink-182 has the song Josie, and I love that song. And he's just talking about this perfect girl and how she's awesome, and he says she brings me Mexican food from Sombrero.
Oh,
just because,
yeah, I know that lyric.
So I'm like, I want to wife someone up one day and then take a drive out there and then play the song on the way there and just hope that I found my Josie. You know what I mean?
I'll take you there.
You'll be my Josie, man.
Road trip. There you go.
Yeah.
Bromance of the century, right here.
Oh, yeah, no question.
So, when did you start playing music? Both of you answer not at the same time.
That's a big question.
Yeah.
I guess I started playing music in 4th grade. I was in orchestra all throughout school. I played viola.
Oh, shit. That really surprised me,
Fourth
just from your
grade.
Style of music.
Yeah.
You know, I would not expect that.
I don't remember why. Oh, I think I had a friend that was gonna do it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that."
Mm-hmm.
So, I think from 4th grade all the way through my senior year in high school, I played in orchestra. But I think when I was 13, I started playing guitar, like, pretty seriously. And just kind of, I grew up on all the old, like, Clapton and Led Zeppelin and stuff. My dad, he had kind of picked out a few little riffs, and he showed me those, and then I just kind of started doing it on my own.
Cool.
Like,
So your dad plays music too? Or?
nah, he just had one of those times where he was like, I'm going to get a guitar and learn how to play it, and
Like learn 2 things.
yeah, he learned like 3 things. He tries to get me to teach him like every 3 years. And but now started doing that and got to the point where it was serious enough that I got grounded once, and my dad took my guitar for like a month, so I couldn't play it. So I ended up actually, for that month I watched YouTube videos of people playing guitar and learned like a few riffs and stuff just by watching them do it, and like,
Wow.
you know, fingering just to myself with no guitar, like just in midair. So I'd say that's around when I was pretty serious about it, and you know.
I was reading, or not reading. I was listening to the radio, which doesn't happen very often. But I was listening to the radio, and apparently, the age of which you discover your favorite band is 13. So
I heard about that too, and which makes sense because my dad's been listening to the same music for 30 years now, and he won't let me show him anything new, even though he's tired of all the music he listens to.
That's funny. Well, that's cool. My cousin, he actually was in orchestra all through middle school, and
Okay.
In high school he ended up quitting. But yeah, I was never like formally in orchestra or band or anything. Growing up, I was just like a jock kind of. I played sports from the time I was like really young, like 4 years old. I started playing baseball, and that was my big thing.
That was the same with me. Like,
Really?
did that
Yeah.
all through school. Baseball was my sport, but
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Were you good at it? I was never good at it.
Yeah, I was pretty good. Like, I was a pitcher for a long time, and I think my hardest I ever got clock thrown was like 89, 90.
Wow, dude. That's
Like,
pretty impressive.
How old are you?
I think I was like 16, 17 at that time.
There you go. Prime throwing age, I guess.
Was it just like a one-time throw you hit that?
No, that was like
Or
a
is
consistent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's really impressive, man. I actually, whenever I was playing baseball, I was was going to Nimitz High School, and the other school in Irving, there are two other ones, but Irving High School had this guy named Trevor Story. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah, I know.
Plays for the Rockies now.
Yeah.
And it was so crazy. I never played varsity, so I never like played against him or anything. But it was like a pretty rare occasion in which the JV team played after the varsity team at the home stadium. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of strange, but we ended up playing a team after our high school went against his high school. So like I got to see him pitch, and it was kind of a surreal scene. Like there were just all these scouts in the stands, and
that's wild, man.
Cool.
It's like there's something different about someone like just by watching them play. Like you see good players, and then you see like good players, and it's like a whole different, it's so hard to describe. It's just totally different. Mm-hmm. Like it's wild.
Baseball is it's arguably the second most competitive sport worldwide, I would say. Just because soccer is so international. Big. So, and if you think about how many people play soccer in their lifetime, and that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just all over the world. But, baseball is another really big international sport. So, think about all the baseball players there are, and then just like that small percentage that make it to the majors.
Yeah.
Or even if they make it to the majors in like never.
It's the only sport that you can't just go straight to the majors. You go to like the minor leagues mm-hmm. and make like $1,000 a month playing baseball.
Yeah.
For years, and I don't know. I've heard stories about people when they're in the minors, and it just sounds like hell. But
and then for some of those guys that end up having families or whatever, it's like all their money just goes home, and they just got to do what they got to do. It's probably my roommate. Yeah. Well, cool. We'll get back to music then. When did you start playing music, Ramiro?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't really know. There's pictures of me and my brother walking around with like these toy guitars as kids, because my grandpa pretty much taught himself how to play, and he would always play around us, and I don't have any specific memory of it, but I do know this feeling that I had looking at my grandpa do that, and I was like, resonated. Something made sense. But kind of getting in the formative years, I always wanted to be a drummer. I don't know why, because I still cannot play drums, but then in 5th grade I got into the orchestra program. I think I didn't want to do it. I don't know. I think my mom made me, but I ended up being taught by this lady, Miss Young, and that person just made me realize, like, wow, I can do something that I actually feel good in school about, not just recess,
Yeah.
And
so she was like the music teacher at your school?
She's, I'd say she and my grandpa are like the only reason that I actually felt like I could do something,
Mm.
And then
they kind of just gave you that confidence, that push or whatever.
Because I saw how much love was present in whenever they would play, and Miss Young was a music teacher. My grandpa just taught himself, but there was like this genuine thing, a quality, and this smile, this spark on somebody's face where you just were like, that's crazy. And I kind of feel that. And so I kind of went home and was messing around on this little toy keyboard, and my brother's Starcaster Squire guitar, and I realized like the notes that I'm learning on these super simple songs, I was like, oh wait, that note is that note on the piano, and that note is that note on the guitar. And then of course...
So did you start on the piano then?
No, I was just violin, and then...
Oh, so you started on violin?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And
Both
then
of
I
you
kind of
guys.
just pressed notes, found notes, and then obviously I was in a punk rock, so I was like, guitar, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was in a couple bands in high school, and I think 1 and 2 in middle school, and yeah, I mean, ever since then, it's just been, yeah, screw you guys, is what I'm gonna do, you know? So.
That's kind of cool. I never really played in any, like, formal band or anything, even in middle school and high school. It wasn't until, like, after I got out of high school that I started my own band. So that's pretty impressive that you had a band in middle school. I mean, there were some, like, guys that had bands at my high school, and I was always, like, really jealous of them.
Yeah.
Like, I
That's kind of the
want
same
a
way it
band.
was for me. Like,
Well, to be fair, the band that I was in middle. To be fair, hope we don't get copyrighted for that. The band I was playing in middle school, we did like a Seven Nation Army cover and a Smells Like Teen Spirit cover, so it wasn't like yeah,
so it was a high school band.
middle school band.
Oh,
Yeah.
so that makes more sense.
We played
Middle school
all the
band.
Blink-182 songs so that we could play because at least
Well,
for
it's
me as
easy.
the guitarist, it was the easiest thing
They're all
to
the
do.
same notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Blink-182 is one of those. It's one of those bands where you realize that they would not be what they were without the drummer. You know what I mean? Like,
Or even
Yeah,
just the
dude.
time
Throw
that
it-
they were in.
yeah, the
Like-
time that they were in as well. I mean, if you listen to those songs and you throw any other kind of drumming in there, I don't know if it really would have gotten the same like attention.
No.
You really, yeah.
But I love, to this day, I've jammed to them. Like, I love them, so it's not saying like, oh yeah, Travis is the only good thing about that band, because
That's not necessarily true either.
No.
but you know, it was just like a huge part of it, for sure. And one of the things that's kind of interesting about music right now, at least, is that seems like we're in a phase in music in which things are supposed to be resurfacing back up in popularity, but they aren't, because there's still a huge market for pop music and a huge market for rap music, which has been, you know, popular for the last 20 years now, and has not really, like, it's not going
Hasn't
away.
faltered
No, not at all in the
whatsoever.
last 20 years, for sure. And, you know, rap music and hip-hop music or whatever has always been, like, always had a huge market since, like, the mid-90s.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't as mainstream popular as it is now. And I think that actually has a lot to do with global popularity, because once rap and hip-hop started gaining popularity in the US, it kind of bled into the UK, and now it's like all over the world.
yeah.
So and it still seems to be growing. There's so many different you know, rappers and hip hop artists that are just able to do their thing and instantly find their market. I mean, it's not instant, but there's a lot of people that are able to find their market fairly easily than other people, and you know, their career is pretty much made. Whereas, you know, in our genre of music, or genres similar to ours, because you're kind of country and you seem to be kind of more of like along the like the Americana line a little bit, you know, not necessarily but like rock Americana, I guess I would say, like alternative rock.
Dark folk.
One time we played at Backyard on Bell, Maya did, and I don't know who the hell gave us this description, but I am a fan of it. It was dark folk fun. And
That was
was
one of
like,
the Isaacs.
I hope not. But that was, yeah. I was like, I guess, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying is that, you know, for you know, indie rock artists or indie country artists, or like indie Americana alternative artists, you can find your market, but it seems like just the overall popularity of those genres are just not creating enough market space for even the people that are like really popular in those markets to have a substantial form of living. Like most of those people that are, nationally known, which is a huge accomplishment, they're still, working jobs whenever they get back home from touring.
Or just constantly year-round touring to pay for.
And that's gotta be hell on the psyche for sure. I was actually talking at band practice. I'm playing drums in a band called I think Space Hound is the name of the band that I'm playing drums in. I don't remember. But we were talking about it after band practice, just about not taking music as seriously as we once were a few years ago or whatever, and a lot of it has to do with that fact. Is like you can quite literally just kill yourself trying to make it these days. There's, and even quote unquote making it is not, you're not gonna be like seeing very much financial benefit from it.
I mean,
so
I could even there's even I look at John Prine, rest in peace, by the way, but he was well into his older years before I would say he became a national country Americana artist. He had diehard fans that heard about him because they wanted to hear about him.
Because I think majority of like people around our age heard of him when Tree of Forgiveness came out.
Yeah, and he's been around since the 60s, and he wasn't as big as he finally got to be.
Yeah.
Where he's been playing since, Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and all of them.
Just never got that level.
Yeah, he just never had that moment until later in his life.
Because the majority of the time, even before that record came out, you would ask somebody, John Prine, to be like, oh, I know that Angel from Montgomery song, or maybe In Spite of Ourselves, or something like that, if they could name that. And now, after that record dropped, a lot of people that I've talked to, biased because they're mainly songwriters, are like, oh man, I can have like deep cut conversations with John Prine songs. And I'm like, if he didn't put out Tree of Forgiveness, like I just happened to stumble upon that music when I was kind of young. Would
you know who he is? Yeah.
Yeah. Would I know who he is? Would my friends know who he is? Would we have this catalog of inspiration that we can go back and rely on? And it's one of those things where it's just very mind blowing knowing that he could have been under the radar and but people our age at least wouldn't even know who the hell he was.
Yeah.
He's an important figure.
Definitely, for sure. And what's strange too is that I never heard of John Prine until after he was dead, and I feel like once he died, he probably got a lot more attention too because everybody was talking about his death. But there's a lot of artists like that were around, but didn't gain any recognition until after they were dead.
Have you heard of a Sparkle Horse?
No.
Yeah. Sparkle Horse is one of those artists, had a very dedicated following, and then when he passed, good amount of people started listening to him, but nowadays it's very few and far between that I find somebody who knows that name. And dude, there's this album called It's a Wonderful Life. It is, oh my gosh, it's an accomplishment in music.
Yeah.
It is something scary good. Like, knowing that a human being made that, I quit.
I'll have to check it out. Send me a link sometime.
Yeah, for sure. At the risk of sounding dramatic, anybody who happens to listen to that album.
We're musicians, we're dramatic.
Yeah. I've always had a flair for it.
Yeah, being a musician, and I feel like this is kind of this way with any artistic community, but I was actually having a conversation about this with my dad. But music is just like art is just very subjective. So you can have. You just have to have a goal in mind whenever you're making music. Like if your goal is to make money off of music, and you're a musician that can do other stuff that you like more, but making money is your goal, you can write like pop songs or just make beats and make a substantial living off of that. And it might not be what you enjoy, but if your goal is to make money, you can do it.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's all about the side hustles.
Yeah, for sure. Or just getting into recording, like even if recording isn't your passion, but you know that you can do it.
Yeah.
You know, you can just get into it, and that's fine. But you know, it's the people that make the music that they want to make and are successful at it that are kind of the rarity. You know, there aren't too many people nowadays, at least, that I think are doing the kind of music or involved in the music industry doing exactly what they want to do and being like having that level of success doing, because I mean you can get into producing, you can get into composing, but you know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's that person's passion within music. You know what I mean?
Same thing with being like a session performer as well.
Right, like I have a friend of mine, he graduated with a degree in music, and his passion is playing guitar, but he actually got his music degree is in violin composing. And you know, he obviously likes the violin and can play it, but whenever he's doing what he wants to do, he's playing guitar, you know. And whenever, and just kind of going back to the other aspects of music and like figuring out what your goal is, you know, he has a part-time job. He works at Starbucks or whatever, but he teaches music, and he doesn't like particularly like teaching music, but he, you know, makes some money. And he's able to have a substantial form of living off of it. So it's all about what you want to do and what your goal is and things of that nature. So with that in mind, what are your goals coming up after everything kind of winds down? Do you guys have plans of, you know, doing more band stuff or solo stuff, or what's
for me, my band Maya, we're releasing our next single on June 13th. It's called Where Will You Go? It'll be on Spotify and all that good stuff. So once this thing is over, we're going to be in that band playing as much as we can. We had a lot of opportunities that we couldn't take advantage of because of this whole situation. And it definitely made me lose some hope. And then I kind of kicked myself in the butt about it, and just said, well, shit, made it happen one time, make it happen again, you know? And so as far as it goes with that band, just play as much as we can. And then in the Drunken Armadillos, the band that we play together, I don't want to speak for you, but my goal is kind of the same thing, get our nose to the grindstone and just go out and
keep pushing and start building off of that. Yeah, I would say that. Another goal is recording a single.
Yeah.
Maybe doing a video, I don't know.
Drunken Armadillo is the name of the band? Cool.
Nils Jordan Bishop and the Drunken Armadillos.
Oh, okay. Nice.
The whole thing.
Do you have like drummer, bass?
Yeah, we got
second guitar or what?
Ramiro's playing lead. I'm, you know, it's mainly my songs right now. Just because we were kind of just getting started before all this happened, and we got Ramiro on guitar, got Blue J drumming for us actually.
Really? That's cool.
And
I was trying to get him on the podcast before all this happened, and then that didn't happen. So.
Yeah. Blue's weird. I didn't hear from him for like 3 weeks. like when all this started.
I didn't hear from him for I don't know how long. I called him. I was
Yeah,
like, dude, I miss you.
I finally asked him if he was dead. He said, no, I'm still kicking it. I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you don't know Blue, he was a recording artist for 25 years. Mm-hmm. So he's phenomenal at it. And plays in my band and offered to record the band for right now. As long as that's still a thing, you know, I love you, Blue. You can play drums for me if you want. But, you know, and then right before all this happened, we made a pretty big change in switching up our bass player, which was, that weighed on my mind a lot because I felt like we started kind of making ground and playing, you know, booking shows and stuff, but it wasn't working creatively, and, you know, it's nothing against him or his abilities, phenomenal. It just wasn't, it didn't work with, you know, this band. I think he's got a new band now. Or he's in a new band.
Yeah, I heard a snippet of one of their songs on Facebook.
Fits him so much better.
And I was like, dude, that's what you need to be doing, because that's yeah, he shines in that band, dude.
But
is he kind of a prog guy or something?
Yeah.
It's
kind of like, well,
those guys are just, and they're like their own separate world in the music industry. You know, those guys are just crazy.
Some of the most creative people you can find out there.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
They're the kind of people that will write 15-minute songs with, you know, over 30 parts in them.
Yeah. Mod Vision Orchestra type stuff.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think that's kind of it. It's just put some stuff out, play as much as we can, and kind of get to work.
That's good. I think it's important to just not, you know, be ambitious, but not be ambitious to the point where you're setting goals that you know you can't reach, you know, or that you, not that you know you can't reach, but just setting goals that you know you're going to be disappointed if you don't reach them, you know what I mean? Because it kind of hurts the morale a little bit in a band if you're, you know, setting specific goals and then you're not making the progress. It can kind of, like, I was talking to Jameson from Stay Positive Records.
I love that boy.
Yeah,
he's such a good dude.
He's in the Space Hound.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's playing bass. Awesome, it's Alex Green from the Sheets, guitar and vocals, and then Jameson on bass, and then I'm playing drums.
That's cool. All right. Whenever you guys play, I need to see that. That's
wild. the songs are really psych. It's like a psych indie band. So
cool.
It's cool sound, and definitely has Alex's style coming through in the band. But there's more. It's not as like raw punk as the Sheets is. He like layers a lot of effects on it and stuff. But but anyways, I was talking to Jameson about that, and he was in another band, I can't remember, where like just one of the members, he was like new to playing guitar, and so he, you know, that's a phase that everybody goes through when they're playing music, but their goal is to be rich and famous, you know, and so after about a year, he finally kind of pulled it back and just got interested in the passion of it. And like now the band dynamics are working a lot better. So yeah, it sounds like you guys have a good, healthy balance of goals and orientation towards the music. So that's good.
I think, Jordan knows this. I think I've told you. I hope I have. I'm a pro wrestling nerd. Like I loved it. I love it. I love it all. And there's this interviewer. He now works for AEW, but before he kind of built up this YouTube channel where he would just have these really interesting interviews with wrestlers from all over the world. His name is Chris Van Vliet, and he said this one thing in his video. He said it several times, but funnily enough, that line inspired me in music goals more than I think anything else that I've ever heard. And it was just one line that said, vague goals get vague results, and I take that very seriously. And like you said, you have the big dreams, you have the playing late night TV shows, you have goals of playing in front of 50,000 people. Sure, right? That'd be cool, but you
gotta be realistic.
You have to get to that place. You don't just arrive at that place. Yeah. And I think getting there is the science and the business, and figuring out each individual calculated specific step is so important before you can even fantasize about that sort of thing, And I think that's something that I'm really, really, really going to try to do as best I can.
Yeah, and then on another level, you have to ask yourself, and really ask yourself, if that's what you really want. Because, the flip side of this, and this is sort of what has been my mentality within the past year, at least, in regards to music, but I started realizing that if I really did pursue this to the level that I had once set out to pursue this, I wouldn't have a private life. Your private life would be on the road, and so you wouldn't be able to maintain any, like a family or just a healthy relationship at any point, because you would just be out on the road all the time. And even then, like, if you wanted to, take a trip somewhere and not have to play music and just relax for a week, I mean, if that's your livelihood, you don't really have that option. You can't just take a vacation if that's your source of income, and if that source of income isn't providing you enough to do that sort of thing. And so I think it's important for you as a musician, just as an individual, to ask yourself, what exactly do I want out of this, and what am I willing to sacrifice to get those things? Because that's something I didn't really ask myself for a long time. What am I willing to sacrifice to have the career in music that I want? And it's a lonely, complicated road to be a musician, and a successful musician at that at least, because especially nowadays, I mean, you might become popular and you might be able to do what you want to do for an extended period of time, but there's so much out there that and everything is so accessible that your music could become a fad that is over with in a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't necessarily guarantee you a career anymore, because there's just so much out there, and the listener has complete control of what is and isn't in. And I mean, there's so many artists that have so much pressure on them to just continue to put out albums and just continue producing music, and that's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you're always putting music out and you're popular, eventually you're going to reach your creative limitations, and that's something that you just kind of have to take into consideration, because if you have more time to focus on it, because you aren't extremely famous or whatever, if you have more time to focus on it, the quality of what you put out is going to be better, so
instead of just pumping out song after song after song, or having someone write songs for you because they figured out the formula to make money off of it. I think I have a theory about pop music, that these people have been in this live for so long, or so constantly just touring, in a studio putting out music, that when they do write a song and it's god awful, it's because they've lost touch with reality and how reality actually is. It's like just day-to-day life, and their life is not relatable to a listener.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's a big reason why pop artists that used to write their own songs, as they get older in their career, don't write their own songs anymore, because their life is completely changed by it. Like, I think the easiest, most accessible artist that comes to mind in regards to that is Beyonce. Like, isn't Beyonce like either in her late 40s or in her 50s?
Something like that.
I have no idea.
And she's still like singing songs about breakups and like.
Yeah, I'm like.
She's been married to Jay-Z for how many years now? Like.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, they told that. I forgot that's a thing. Yeah, that's a power couple. Holy crap.
Yeah, but
obviously not that good of a power couple if you forgot about it.
Well, I'm also dumb.
And also got bigger things to worry about.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, work.
And remembering to wear socks before
And remembering lyrics.
That's that too, yeah.
Yeah. The top in any industry, whether it's music or the business world or whatever, it's always stressful, and it only gets more stressful the more successful you get, no matter what it is.
Money, more problems,
so,
dog.
Yeah. And I don't even have that much money.
Yeah.
And I already know it exists.
I'm in debt, and I got more problems than I know what to do with.
Cheers to that.
To that.
Well, this one's kind of a more personal question, but not too personal. What's your favorite thing about living in Denton? Because you guys have both lived here for a while. Ryan, you lived here for like 4 years, 5 years now?
Yeah, I think this is my 5th year living here.
Oh, okay.
Man, the art. Yeah, there's a lot of unapologetic and brave people out there really, really doing a lot of special things. And, I mean, wherever you go, I love how he's laying on the pillow.
Oh, yeah. For the listeners, my dog Tyson is laying on the pillow like a human being. This is how he sleeps with me every night. He gets his own pillow, and he lays on it just like me, and he just... It's so funny. Whenever we sleep together, he has to always be touching me.
Really?
Yeah, like his paw has to be on me at all times, or like his head has to be on my ankle, or whatever.
That's adorable.
I'll wake up in the middle of the night because he will have woken up realizing he's not touching me and will like paw himself
Sounds like
at
my
me.
ex-wife.
So that's funny. Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyways, what were you saying?
I'm just blown away by the art, and also the people. I remember we were talking the other day, and I told you I can't tell you how many genuine conversations that have helped me grow as a person living here with, strangers and friends alike. I mean, every place has their bad eggs, but the people here are just unlike any other place I've been. Everybody's willing and kind and giving, and I mean, like I said, bad apples everywhere, but yeah, I've met some of the closest friends I've ever had living here. So probably the art and the people.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad that we've gotten closer as friends over the last few days now. Yeah, I've lived in Denton for 4 years now, and I really haven't gotten like a chance to get like close with a lot of the people in the music scene. I obviously know that there's been good people, but just focusing on my goals and like just taking life a little too seriously, I think, for a little too long, just kind of isolated me a little bit. But
it eats you, man. It eats you.
Yeah, but and part of the reason why I decided to start doing this podcast again is because whenever I did it before I was going to school, it was a lot of fun, and there weren't that many people that I knew that were, you know, really that interested in being on the podcast. And so, like, at some point, I just got, like, several different kinds of friends and people on it. But then I just started recognizing, like, well, all the people I do know are musicians, and I know that all the people that I know that are musicians would love to have some sort of platform separate from, like, you know, an Instagram or Facebook Live thing. So this is a way that I can kind of give back to the community and give people a chance who either are experienced or a little inexperienced, to kind of give them a little something to say, hey,
check this out.
Yeah. So
that's great.
Yeah, which, by the way, if you're listening, I do not have the Hickory Street podcast page on Facebook anymore. I deleted that along with my own personal Facebook and everything. So this is purely YouTube. So if you want to be on the podcast, you can send an email to Hickory Street Podcast. It's Hickory ST Podcast at gmail.com. And just shoot me some links with your music. I had a few people lined up whenever I had the Facebook page open. I think Brandon Gallimore.
Oh, yeah.
And his band
Under the Gallows.
Under the Gallows?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah. I think that he was supposed to be on it, and then everything happened. So hopefully
suck the soul out of everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brandon, if you're listening, just shoot me an email.
Or
we can do it.
Or hit me up and I'll put you in contact with Michael.
Yeah.
I still hit me up and I forget to reply.
I still have a phone, so we can exchange numbers eventually. But
cool.
For sure. Cool. So Jordan, do you have any like solo music that you're going to be releasing? I know whenever we were doing the open mic, you mentioned you had a few new songs you were working on. So
yeah, I'm working on a few new songs. I think I'm gonna do a couple solo songs and record those with
Fulton.
What's his name?
Fulton.
Brian Fulton over at what's his production thing?
Ayers? Yeah.
Ayers production, something like that. I'm sorry if I totally forgot what it's called. It's not your last name, so it's not easy to remember. And I barely remembered your last name. I'm sorry, dude. But I think I'm gonna do a couple songs over there and just kind of release those as solo.
Cool.
Like my solo stuff's gonna be pretty important to me and what I'm gonna work on, but I think I'm really putting a lot more effort into the band stuff.
So you're gonna record the band then? That's
We're gonna do that, and I don't even know. I might just do all the songs as the band. You know.
Just transition some of your solo songs into band songs.
Yeah, I mean most of my songs are all solo stuff, and I think just because of the orchestra background, every time I write a song, I kind of really just think about having a band backing it rather than just writing.
That's where your mind goes first.
Yeah. It's kind of like pauses and stuff in the music for different instruments and stuff like that. But
it's I feel like it's kind of like that with any artist. I think even acoustic artists hear a band, you know?
Yeah. I think any song that just doesn't work, when I bring it to the band, I'll probably do solo. You know? Yeah, I think I'm at the point where I'm just going to bring every song I have, see what works, see what doesn't, and work off of that.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to hear what you guys end up recording eventually. That'd be pretty dope. Ramiro, you got a pretty cool spot. You guys could get some solid, home recordings too, if you have the equipment, at least.
I have the Focusrite solo studio thing, the little audio adapter. I don't even know. It's this little box you plug it in a GarageBand or whatever I have.
Is it an interface?
An audio interface. Yeah,
oh,
that's what
okay.
that thing's called.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no idea about how to record anything, but I think I was planning on it during this quarantine to do some tunes that at the time I thought I knew they wouldn't work in Maya or the Delos or anything, and they were just my own thing. But something Jordan just said, I mean, he hit the nail right on the head for what I was thinking. I was like, well, I've already been in a couple situations where I was like, this is not a Maya song. This is just a song I'm going to do by myself. And sure enough, I work with 5 of the most creative people on the planet, and I just show them this song that I'm like, they cannot work with 6 people. And suddenly it's my favorite song. You know? And I'm like, I can't believe this almost didn't happen. So I was thinking about doing that, but at the same time, a lot of these songs, I'm like, well, I'm going to wait and see. I have a very wait and see attitude with it.
That's good. I mean, keep it, just to keep it open-ended, because you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah, of course.
Especially if you have a creative force behind you that wants to shape and mold and add.
And
it's good stuff.
And it helps playing with such individualistic players to where everybody in that band, I mean, you can hear influences, sure, but they all sound like themselves. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm having a conversation with our drummer when I hear him play the drums. It doesn't sound like anything anybody else would say or play. Right. And same thing with everybody else in the band.
There's a character to it.
Yeah, and I think that breeds a lot of fun and a lot of, like you said, you have to give everything a chance and give it room to breathe, because you just might get a new life,
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks for being on the podcast. I think we'll cut it here.
I hated it, and I'm never doing it again.
I had a good time.
It was fun.
Really fun, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun talking music with you guys. So if you're listening and you made it to the end, congratulations. You're probably one of the few. And if you are a local musician or artist, visual, or a sound engineer or something, and you want to come in and talk about it, just shoot me an email at hickorystreetstpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So thanks, guys, for being on it. Thanks for the beer.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it was super fun. Thanks.
All right.